Years ago, when my older daughter, Taylor, was in preschool, I picked her up one day. She said, "Daddy, today at preschool, a teacher was cooking some popcorn in the microwave. She left it in too long. The room got all smoky, and they made us go outside." I said, "Did the fire alarm go off?" She said, "No, it went on." She said, "Daddy, why would you ask me if it went off?" Younger daughter, Tess, 5 years old, walks up to me one time in the house and says, "Daddy, what does power mean?" I'm thinking about it, trying to figure out where she's going here. Finally, I said, "Well, honey, can you use it in a sentence?" She said, "Sure. What does power mean?" She said, "Daddy, wasn't that a sentence?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "Daddy, why'd you ask me to use it in a sentence when I already used it in a sentence?" The power of the question. Okay, think about how our legal system is set up. Somebody has a problem with somebody else. They file a lawsuit. They go in front of a judge or a jury. They put somebody on the witness stand. And to resolve the situation, they ask them questions. And by the way, we call it different things a lot of times. It's a question. We call it a problem. We call it a challenge. We call it an issue, a concern. It's a question. What I want to talk about today is 3 types of questions. Questions to make conscious, informed decisions, questions to generate thought, and sometimes questions just to continue the conversation. Because I tell you, if you ask somebody, "Why are you so stupid?" that will not continue the conversation. All right? And sometimes you simply want to continue the conversation. All right? There are 2 questions the human brain should be asking over and over again. Those 2 questions are, what does this mean? Second question, how can I use it? First, what does this mean? Then, how can I use it? Because they need to be asked in that order. I used to manage lawsuits for a reinsurance company. Let's say I called up an attorney down in Texas to ask him about a case getting ready to go to trial. I said, "What do you think our chances of winning are?" He says, "I think they're pretty good." So I approve his trial plan. He goes out, does more legal work. 3 months later, $30,000 in legal fees later, I call him up and say, "Hey, when you said you thought we had a pretty good chance of winning the case, what did that mean? Is there anybody here from New York City?" My older daughter, Taylor, now lives in New York City, and I'm here to tell you, if anybody from New York City ever tells you something is within walking distance, ask more questions. All right? They have an entirely different idea than we do in the Midwest, all right? Jennings and Drucker, 2 business gurus, say 60 to 80% of all problems in business are communications related. Why? People are talking to each other, but they don't understand what each other is saying. They don't understand what they mean, and you need to do that. If people are giving you information, make sure you understand what they mean. If you are giving information, check for meaning. My younger daughter, Tess, 6 years old, Saturday morning at the breakfast table, we're having a Norman Rockwell moment. I say, "Tess, sometimes late at night, your mom and I'll go to bed. I'll open the door to your room. I'll see you in there, mouth open, sleep on your side, looking so peaceful. I'll start kissing on you." Oh, Tess loved that story. A couple of days later, Tess comes to me and says, "Daddy, tell me that story again about how you come into my room in the middle of the night and kiss me with my mouth open." I said, "Tess, don't be telling that story at school." All right, that was close. That was close, but that wasn't quite it. Check for meaning. All right? There's an economist who once said the distinguishing characteristic of economics is trade-offs. He also said the distinguishing characteristic of politics is to forget the distinguishing characteristic of economics, but that's for another day. We talk about trade-offs, what are we talking about? We're talking about pros and cons. You already use this in parts of your life. You can do this on a regular basis. And the reason that I want you to consider doing this is for one very important reason, and that is that people want to be heard. That is, if somebody gives you an idea, opinion, a thought, or whatever, do not immediately dismiss them. Listen to them, consider it. It's fairly simple to do. Use a very simple example. Somebody says, "Why don't we eat at Jimmy John's today at lunch?" And the response could be, "We could do that. It's close. It's cheap. The food's good. It wouldn't take very long." Now, some other considerations is the menu's rather limited. We wouldn't get as many choices of food or whatever. But if you do that in a situation like that, first thing, I heard what you said, okay? And then, the other one is I offered other suggestions. But people want to be heard. Don't immediately dismiss them. If you do manage people and you continue to do this, they will stop talking to you. That is never a good thing. And so many times it is simply trade-offs. My older daughter, Taylor, she's 23 years old now. In May of 2015, my daughter Taylor graduated with honors from Harvard. At Harvard commencement, she was the female Ivy orator and gave a presentation in front of 10,000 people. In October of last year, Taylor left her relatively well-paying job on Park Avenue in New York City to become a stand-up comedian. I said, Taylor, we paid for 4 years of Harvard so you can earn $50 a night as a stand-up comedian? You might just make it, because that's funny. She said, Dad, seriously, what do you think about this? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Is this right or wrong? I said, Taylor, it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's pros and cons. What are the pros? Well, the pros, you're 23 years old. I mean, what's it matter? You got 4 or 5 failures in you. You can just fall flat on your face. It doesn't matter. Okay. I said, what's another pro? Well, the other pro is most people regret things they never tried. They don't regret things they tried and it didn't work out. Is there anything that you regret because you haven't tried it? It's not too late. All right? What are the cons? I said, Taylor, do not undervalue a check that is automatically deposited into your checking account every 2 weeks. It is one thing for people to owe you money. It is another thing to actually have the money. But so many times it really is pros and cons, and you can get into the habit of doing this. Pros and cons. And then you go positive. Most of the time, the questions I'm talking about, you're either positive or neutral. And it's fairly easy to do, and it really helps because people know that they have been heard. And so often, that's what you want to do. I will tell you also, one of my favorite questions is not a question. And that is if somebody were to say, I decided to leave my job and join the circus. My response would be, tell me more. It wouldn't be, why would you do something so stupid? It's just tell me more. Why? To continue the conversation. When they continue the conversation, they will be answering the question why, but I didn't have to ask it. The only problem I have with the question why is I love the question. Too often, instead of provoking thought, it provokes defensiveness. Yes, people, why are you doing that? They start defending. You really don't want that, okay? Gandhi once said, live as if you'll die tomorrow, but learn as if you'll live forever. So many of you have done so much already, and here you are trying to learn even more. I applaud you for that. You know a great tip how to continue to learn? Ask questions. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.